This podcast contains some magical adult language. Listener discretion is advised. And sorry, Mom.
I'm going to Disney World. I'm going to...
Whoa. You're not Mickey Mouse, you're a rat.
Rat smack! Besides, they're tourists. What do they know?
Welcome to Rat Castle, a progressive chat about Disney magic without the pixie dust. I'm Janine, and with me today are Nathan.
Oh, hello, Janine.
Hello, and Dave.
Howdy, Disco citizens.
And Victoria.
Hello, lovely.
Hello. I'm so glad to have you guys here. Unfortunately, Sada is out meeting Angela Davis tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, no big deal.
Lucky bitch.
And BD.
I'm having coffee with Cornell West tomorrow, so I was able to make it,
But we do have a special guest today. Dave, will you introduce our guest?
Yes, I will. This is a lovely lady who has worked in the themed entertainment industry and the movie industry and the haunt industry, has a lot of experience with haunts. One of my favorite people in the industry. We have Jamie Bartkowicz.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
This all came about because I saw your sort of tweet thread, I think last week, that was so great about a bit of a rant about
Yes.
that you needed to start your own podcast about being a woman in our industry, which has its challenges, as I've seen firsthand with my colleagues. And by the way, I still want you to start that podcast. Like, this does not let you off the hook to start that podcast.
I know. Now I feel the pressure.
and Nathan should produce it anyway. So, but I did mention Nathan in that thread so that you guys would talk. And so now you're here. You want to give us a fun recap of what you do in the industry, how you got there?
Yeah, so I started in themed entertainment when I moved out to LA in 2015. So I moved out here from Michigan, planning to be in the movie industry. That's what I went to school for. That was always the plan. And I was doing some freelance work in that, and then I needed a part-time job. So then I started working at Universal in tickets, which after 2 weeks working there led to me somehow being a production coordinator for entertainment.
And this was Hollywood, right? Universal
happens.
Hollywood?
This is Hollywood, yes.
Yeah.
So had no idea what themed entertainment really was, except I've been to Disneyland, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And then I ended up being there for about 6 years and worked my way up from production coordinator up into associate production designer. So I immediately was put on to Halloween Horror Nights, which at the time I hated because I had no idea. I'd never been to Horror Nights. I don't like haunted houses. I liked Halloween, but I thought, this is my hell. And everyone else would be like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky you get to work on that project. And I said, I'm not looking forward to this. And then after a year of being desensitized, it became part of my life. So now nothing surprises me. And I love horror. I love haunts because just... when you have meetings about how much vomit comes out of a static figure, nothing surprises you. When you're smelling like, oh, which vomit or which pee smell should we have in this room? Like wine tasting.
Wow.
So I did that for like 6 years. And then recently made a difficult decision to step away from themed entertainment and go back into movies. So that's what I'm doing now.
Of course, the floor is open for questions. I'm curious what brought on the tweet to begin with. What's current? I mean, you probably were talking. Yeah, you're probably talking a little bit. Yeah, you're probably talking a little bit about production design as a whole, more than just theme park production. But I'm curious about your relationship as a woman in the industry.
So there's highs and lows. I think I've had the blessing of working with some really great people, especially on, my 6 years of working with Horror Nights. Half of our team is women, and we have women in leadership positions and everything. So that was always good. But working in production and entertainment in general is just not a fun time to be a woman or anyone who's not a straight man. So I've always been very outspoken about my issues that I've had, from just, sexual comments made on sites, to being called a bitch if too bossy, being assumed that you're the assistant there to take notes when you're actually giving art direction. It's highs and lows. And I actually was getting coffee with two of my past students. So I teach on the side art direction. Me and my colleague started a business last year where we teach about art direction and entertainment. And so I got coffee with two of my students that wanted to catch up. And we just started talking about sexism and racism in the industry. And one of them brought up the fact that we spoke at Midsummer Scream me and my colleague who started our business, we spoke at Midsummer Scream in 2021. And I brought up, I got a lot of hate mail when I was a panelist for, we did the main stage and we talked about art direction and stuff in HHN, and we were two women. And I was like, and I just casually was like, I expected it. I got a lot of people who just like didn't want to listen to two women talk about it. You know, they don't know who we are. They don't care about us. And then I learned during that conversation that other people were getting hate mail about us also, that Midsummer itself might have been getting messages and people who work for Midsummer saying, hey, those women are lying. They don't design. They don't have women designers. Women don't belong in horror. And it really pissed me off to hear that because I love all the people who run Midsummer. I love the haunt industry and, you know, other haunts and everything. So it just was like very discouraging to hear that all I'm doing is giving a discussion about how you get started in art direction, and I have someone telling me that I'm lying about my career. And that's very hurtful because I feel like I worked really hard to get to where I was, especially as a woman in horror, where I'm often told that I wasn't belonging there. So that got me upset, and I started telling them about how, on social media, I get a lot of hate mail and stuff. Like, this is a fun thing that I like to teach people, is that you can look what lists you're on Twitter. The lists are something that I didn't even really know people used, but you can check which ones you're on. And during the Midsummer thing, and even before that, every once in a while I check it, and I've been put on some crazy categories, and one of them was called Sluts and Theme Parks, which is now going to be my memoir / podcast.
I think it.
Right?
Just own it.
It's like a band name.
Yeah.
Right.
There was another one that says Women Who Think They Work in Horror, which was a fun one.
Wow.
There was all sorts of derogatory ones, right? And then I was like, well, I want to see who else is on this list because I bet they're all great. And so I just always deleted them and stuff. And so that's how the whole beat came up, which I basically said, I'm going to start a podcast where I just have women in entertainment, you know, air their grievances, and it will be called Sluts and Theme Parks, because I think that's a really great name. And the merch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, sign me up.
We'll be first in line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the hard part about it, though, which is always been hard when you have to endure these things, is that there's the fear of losing your job when you talk about these things or upsetting things. You know, I speak on behalf of a company. I can't exactly, you know, rant and rage about sexism and things I go through, and then I'll always get the, didn't you go to HR? And I'm like, well, sometimes, yes, but guess
HR
what?
isn't there for you.
Really done.
HR
is not there for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you have proof? Be like, proof that the guy called me a cunt on site? No, I'm sorry, I wasn't recording.
Yeah.
So it's hard. So yeah, I really want to have an area that women can talk about these things, even if it's anonymously, if I need to anonymously talk about it. And now that I don't work directly in themed entertainment, I feel a little more freedom to talk about it. But it's still hard because I still work in entertainment. I still do freelance projects in themed entertainment and everything. So
yeah, and I imagine like the risk of the profile getting higher and the amount of harassment increasing is a very serious concern as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure that people would have a field day if I actually started that podcast. I got a lot of DMs from people I didn't know who were like women in the industry who were like, I have some things to say. And, you know, that's when I was like, oh, this is a thing now. Now I feel like I need to do something with this, when I started getting a bunch of messages from people I had no connections with who were telling me about some of their experiences.
I'm curious, do you think that some of it, I'm sure it's good old fashioned sexism, but the industry or the fans of the industry tend to be, how do I put it? Very conservative in their love of theme parks. We love what we love what was, and we're always wary of what's coming, and change is bad, and it's Walt wouldn't want this, and yada 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 yada. Do you find in horror it's sort of the same thing for theme park horror, or like is it? Are you getting those vibes? I'm sure there's in industry vibes, but do you think that has something to do with it? Is the culture of theme park fans tends to be rather regressive anyway?
Yeah, I feel like you can never make theme park fans happy no matter what.
That's true.
But Haunts is that tenfold. No matter what you do, I feel like in Haunts, at least in my experience, they will never be completely satisfied with the Haunts that you put out there and the product you put out there. So I do think that there is a bit of a criticism of it, and when they see a young woman, working on it, and I'm sure I'm the first one to get blamed for it not being good. Maybe I don't understand. I've also heard that too when I tell my story that I fell into themed entertainment and I had no intention of being in horror. That is immediately just, they will come after me for that because they've been dreaming of this since they were 5. Yes, right. Like they've been doing it since, they've been dreaming of this job since they were 5, and I just fell into it, and so therefore I don't know as much as them, and so I'll get it that way. So, I think it's just interesting.
You know who else fell into theme park entertainment? Mark Davis.
yeah, and me. Like I tell that story all the time.
Well, because it wasn't a degree you got. Like it wasn't a thing, and there, it's still a developing industry with parks like popping up and different kind of experiences. So like most of the people that I work with planned on going into theater or film, and then they ended up in theme parks. So I think that's a terrible thing to, even John Murdy, who they all love and praise, and he's great. He always says like he didn't, he started off as a tour guide and then started working for creative and everything. Like the paths that everyone I know who in this entertainment industry take to get to the art, no one, had a normal, quote unquote, normal path.
Yeah.
He and I were guides together. I don't know if you knew that, Chandra, but we were guides together. Way back in the 80s. And yeah, he says the same thing. Like he didn't aim at horror as a career, and it happened. So why is he not judged for it? Well, that's obvious, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said, Nathan, it's good old fashioned sexism. And I think there's a certain amount of gatekeeping in the community in all, look, all fandoms have gatekeeping. We know this, right? And Twitter and social media gives them a platform to talk about it, which is actually the topic of one of our things later. But it just ratchets up. It just puts a damn laser focus, or I should say magnifying glass burning through on issues like this with you. I'm sure, Jamie, that you're seeing this all the time. It's so great to hear that you're hearing from other voices, though. That's awesome.
And like I said, I think I was very lucky with people like John Murdy and Chris Williams and all of who Horror Nights, like in our male management, have always been super supportive and, definitely have encouraged me and supported me all the way through my years there and continue now even after I'm gone. So I got to remember who's saying those things and where it matters and when it doesn't. But
do you find that it comes mostly from the vendors, or? She's gonna keep rushing on that.
Dave speaking from experience.
Absolutely.
Well, the amount of times I would roll up to site and then they'd be like, they would give me a note and they would immediately look to me and I'd be like, I can take notes, but I was just, why was I assumed to be the one that's taking the notes? And they don't introduce themselves to me. They only look at my boss or introduce themselves to the men who show up on site.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, depending on where you're on the world, that gets worse. But working in Abu Dhabi, I'd work on stuff where, like, my main art director, one of 4 or 5 that we had, actually 3 of the 4 or 5 we had were all women, and we would be in a review with client or with vendor or whatever, and they would just talk to me, and I would just back up and be like, hey. Just because I'm the old white guy here doesn't mean that I have no idea how this is going from a materials and art direction standpoint. I'm here just to soak it in with you. But yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, I've been given leads on a lot of jobs over there, and I'm like, I can't do it. I think I'd be their worst nightmare. I think I can't keep my mouth shut.
I will say that the ladies in positions of power on that project with me were fierce and amazing, and I think in their own way did manage to move the needle a little bit. You know what I mean? Because especially towards the end of that big project, Warner Brothers World, if people don't know what I'm talking about, like, you know, seeing the respect they got after all of that pushback, even if it was just a shred of it, I think they did make a little bit of a change there, which was fun to watch, and fun to watch them like put people in their place. It was awesome to watch because you know, when you're professional, you know how to do that, but like with a smile on your face a little bit, or like the iron fist and the velvet glove kind of a thing, you know, like
especially as a woman, because
you're gonna love me
smile all the time.
Right, exactly right. If you'd only smile more.
I'll smile as I rip you apart.
please do. I want to see that. That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Jamie. That was a really important conversation, and I think really impactful. And it's something that we need to be talking about more in the industry. But I think we could probably do with lightening the mood a little bit. And we can always count on Disneyland to do that for us. And with that being said, they are bringing back Fantasmic and let's see, the Main Street Electrical Parade, which is personally my favorite thing. I don't know about you guys. I think the Main Street Electrical Parade is like just one of the most fantastic things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that when that music starts, that like that's burned into my. I saw that for the first time when I was like 4 or 5, and it that hits a primal button in me like no other theme park experience. Like I instantly turn like 6 years old and like, get all giddy. Like it's what, you know, it's just true. When you hear there's certain ages that you hear these things, they become part of you. And that is that is peak Disneyland in my soul.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And what is this? Is it a Moog synthesizer? What is that soundtrack?
Yeah, synthesizer.
It's the best. I
An early orchestral synth score.
Yes, just fantastic. There's nothing like it, and they don't lean into that enough, in my opinion.
If you like that mood score, you should check out the record Plantasia by Mort Garson, which is all Moog oriented music, literally music created for plants so they can grow.
So up my alley. It's not even funny. I can't believe I didn't know about it.
It's got some good electrical parade vibes. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have like a small collection of vinyl albums that whenever I come across it with this Moog synthesizer, and just love it. Whatever takes me back to that vibe. Who's going?
I'm tempted to go.
That will get me to Disneyland, I swear. I have some Southwest credit floating around.
I said the same thing. I literally looked at my Southwest credits and I was like, can I swing this?
Oh my God. We have to record a Rat Castle in park episode. Like,
yes.
Damn, now I've got to go. Okay.
Yes, Nathan, you do.
I'll do it for work. I'll call it a tax expense.
We all gotta get our Baroque hoedown on, which is what the music is called. By the way, it's based on an old late '60s orchestra. Yeah, it's from Perry and Kingsley was this duet in the late '60s who did recordings with the Moog, which right before Wendy Carlos, who did Switched on Bach and made it really, really famous.
Yes.
And she's famous for doing the score for the original Tron, by the way.
Yes.
But
famous trans artist, by the way.
Famous trans artist, yes. If you don't know her, if you look her up, she's amazing. Wendy Carlos. In particular, there's these great video interviews with the BBC with her, where it's her studio filled with her Siamese cats. It's amazing. But anyway, her music and others inspired that score, and then it was originally they were going to use the music for Fantasia for that parade.
Oh, I would have loved that too. That's my favorite.
But the producer, Jack Wagner, who is a longtime Disneyland producer, said, no, we should do something electronic because it was, early
Hip.
70s. And that was the time, right?
Yeah, it's also coming back with new floats, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see some new technology on that stuff. I love anything that lights up. I don't know what it is. It's like the primal part of my brain that's like that zombie movie where the fireworks go off and they're just like stuck in awe. But we're getting like Encanto and the Jungle Book.
We're going to see
Raya.
Casita in there? Oh,
Yes.
God, that's great.
Yeah. I don't know if Moana is.
Yeah, they're adding a bunch of new
Raya.
floats.
Raya, who does not get enough.
If they cut Elliot the dragon, I will flip a table.
Oh,
We riot.
Yeah,
We will
that's a
riot.
Well, no, they said the only thing that they're taking out is the American flag bacon float and replacing it with a Mary Blair theme. So the finale float is going to have all those characters, and they're going to be looking like small world dolls. So like Raya
that's
and Moana
fantastic.
will all be
That's
like
great.
that.
Does your brain ever write Fox News headlines though? Because when I heard they were replacing the patriotic float with
Immediately.
they're cutting America out of
Why does
Walt
Disneyland
Disney's
hate
park.
America?
We're
Yeah.
on America.
Disney is trying to be woke. Minnie
Yeah.
Mouse is wearing pants.
She's never done that before. Yeah.
And the thing is, that float was not in the original version anyway.
No.
That was added in 1976. For
That's
the
never
centennial.
stopped America before. Look at In God We Trust and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I mean, points
True.
were made. Points were
Yeah.
still made.
Anyway, I'm very excited to see a new take on some of the new story brands in that form.
Yeah.
That's cool. We haven't seen that
I
in a long
also
time.
love how inclusive it is because it's so many different stories and variations of race and such too.
Yeah, they really are
Yeah.
bringing it in. They've got everyone covered. They've got Encanto, Jungle Book, Raya, Mulan, Brave, and Princess and the Frog and Coco, and Aladdin. Everyone, that's just the whole globe is included in that, which I think is just fantastic. And then they're also bringing back the Disneyland Forever fireworks spectacular
And World of Color, right?
and World of Color, yeah, which I went to Disneyland hoping to see one time, and I don't remember what happened, but for some reason, it wasn't going or
I gotta be honest, I am not impressed. I am not
Really?
impressed by World of Color.
Oh, I
never
really wanted
been.
to see it. Like I said, light up things, it just does it for me.
That show grew on me. I didn't love it the first time I watched it, but the scale of it is always impressive to me.
I've also
And
only seen it once, so I
Yeah.
might just need to see it
Oh,
again.
yeah.
My favorite was the thing they added in 2010 for Tron Legacy. They added this thing called the Tron Core,
Oh
where
yeah.
after the show it would glitch. Yeah, look for it on YouTube. The show would glitch and it turned into this thing with all Tron images. And being a Tron nerd, I kind of wet my pants a couple of times.
Those were the days. They had those Tron dance parties, and they were going all out.
Electronica.
man.
Yeah, they
Oh my
really
God.
were.
Where the kids were selling drugs in the park. It's those days. They
God
were,
bless.
by the way.
Oh man.
I mean, if you're not on Molly while you're at Tronica, what's the point? Right?
That's the point.
What's the point?
My good Christian Disneyland?
I'm sure plenty of my SoCal friends can tell stories about going to Disneyland completely high. I may or may not have done that myself.
Oh yeah.
So,
The biggest I have ever been in my life was at Disneyland.
I only get drunk at Disneyland. Oh my gosh, we're doing the drugs?
Can I just fanboy a second though? Also that that Disneyland Forever is coming back, which is the best fireworks show in the world, and every other fireworks show at every other Disney park can suck it, because this is literally the best. It is so good, guys. I can't even tell you.
So
And
well done.
It's good because the one before that, the one they did in 2005, was amazing, and they borrowed pieces of that and expanded on it. Yeah.
I wonder what it's like to have a good fireworks display. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we
they've
talk
really
about what
crafted
it's
it.
like to have a nighttime parade?
Yeah, I remember
What is
those
that
days.
like?
The last time they had it, I was a child here.
Back in my day, Magic Kingdom used to have nighttime parades after the fireworks.
Yeah. There's a lot of brouhaha about it's coming back to Disneyland, but why shouldn't it come back to Walt Disney World for its 50th?
I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's a very
Yeah, I
fair
actually
But the
point.
50th is over. We botched that already. That's over with.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it was DOA.
When the best 50th merch is the Starbucks mug, you're in trouble.
And he's absolutely correct.
Yep. They spent all the money on the color palette design, and then just that'll do. We'll just slap some iridescent sprinkles on some things and call it a day.
I mean, the soap dispenser.
Yeah, the soap
cultural
dispenser.
reset.
We just acknowledge the fact that Disneyland is the favorite child, and I respect that.
But isn't it like we have the number of e-tickets in 2 parks that you guys have in like all 5?
Yeah.
It's like they're crammed in we got e-tickets just in every corner. Can't swing a dead cat without hitting an e-ticket.
I guess that makes sense when you are constrained on land. Like if something goes, you're keeping the e-tickets and getting rid of the other rides and then replacing it with an e-ticket to create buzz and stuff. So
speaking of Disneyland e-tickets,
yeah, you have some interesting news for us today, don't you, Dave?
Yes, we all know that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is coming to the West Coast after its debut at Disney Hollywood Studios last year, year before, in Florida. But they have said that this one will have "quote unquote" enhancements, is what the spokesperson with the president Ken. Actually, yeah, it was the president of the resort, Ken Potrock, and said that there's going to be enhancements and it's going to be even better at Disneyland, which is a flex that Disneyland likes to make.
Because they're the favorite child. I keep telling you.
Because they're the favorite child.
And enhancements are just very LA.
Right. It's getting a little Botox. It's getting a little nip and tuck.
It's getting a little collagen, you know.
I think there's a couple of reasons for it. The most obvious one being it's ground up construction, right? It's not going into an existing building, which is hard.
Yeah, it's not destroying a masterpiece. It's
Ooh, shots fired.
Ooh, okay.
Is it going into Toontown?
Yeah, it's going in Toontown. It's going in Toontown.
Certain things are leaving.
The Chippendale treehouse and the ball play is going because that creates an entryway to, I think, where this ride is.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm not exactly sure, but the other reason is, anybody who thinks that when Disney says they're doing a lift from one park to another, that's literally like copy and paste. It's not how the industry works. Everything changes. Construction techniques change. Engineering changes. Maintenance on the ride for the past 2 years has proven out to change this and that and this and that. Access to that maintenance wasn't good enough, so we have to add catwalks here and here and here, which changes all of the infrastructure. Like on and on and on. I could talk about an hour how about the same attraction on the face that you see is 60% different behind what the guests see.
Would you say it's 30% better from an operational standpoint by that point because of experience as well, or is it just various?
Sometimes, I mean, you would think so. You would hope for that, right?
But its own issues, yeah.
And then that's a park culture issue too, from one park to another. Like Disneyland is not run like Magic Kingdom at all.
Yeah, I know.
you know. But you brought up an interesting reason why it's probably getting enhancements, which I didn't even think of, Nathan.
Oh yeah, before we started recording, which was that it's Disneyland. Of course, in general, this is my belief about Disneyland, is that it's a little more polished and gets a little more attention because that's where the executives can take their car and go and see. Who knows when Bob Chapek's going to just stop by? We can't see his jet. There's some maintenance guy at the Magic Kingdom who's like, where's his jet today? There's like an alert that goes off on their phone and they're like, shit, we've got 4 hours, like, let's go. We gotta fix that. We gotta fix it. So I think that having such a near operational thing, that kind of changes the vibe. I'm curious what happens in the next 5 years with Imagineering moving down here. And if that changes the culture, it's literally the only thing I think is a positive, is having more boots on the ground at a place that has more park space. But yeah, I hope for a little bit of that sort of friction in keeping things nice, the way Disneyland kind of gets it. But we'll see.
I think that's a thing for Los Angeles or Southern California in general, is because all the studios are here, that anytime you do anything IP related in this area, people can just drive their car. I mean, it's like Harry Potter at Universal. Warner Brothers is literally the next door neighbor. They can pop over whenever they want at the one in Hollywood.
Well, and the other thing too is there's a bunch of premieres that happen at Disneyland. And Jungle Cruise just had their premiere.
True.
And every time something like that happens, someone's like, okay, repaint this, whatever it is, something, right? It's going to be seen by people. It's going to be in the shot. Bleh, do it. So we don't have that here in Florida. We haven't had a movie premiere since Ernest Saves Christmas down here.
Oh my God.
So I don't even think we had the premiere down here, but it was filmed. It was filmed here. It was filmed here. But
I just thought of something that maybe this is just a bullshit theory, but throwing it out there for everybody's thoughts. Like, one of the things about it being ground up construction means it can fit into that backstage area where it's going, by the way, is already really tight.
Yeah.
And, they moved food and a bunch of stuff off site completely to build Galaxy's Edge. And I think this affects it too. So my thought is, I immediately flashed on trackless vehicles and vertical transport like they do in Rise, or like Universal does for Transformers. Like, what if this is actually a 2-story show building?
Yeah.
And the enhancements are like, okay, the underwater scene is twice as long because they do it on lifts instead of the little rooms.
Or the tornado scene, you spin around as you go up the elevator or something.
Yeah, something. I mean, I don't know that for sure. I have no idea about the building, but that's a possibility. Just having been backstage in that part of the park, it is tight.
Yeah.
So the fact that they got another e-ticket in there, I was like, what? Really?
It is a bit absurd.
Yeah. That park is a TARDIS. Let's just be honest. The entire park is a TARDIS.
Oh, what's that I hear? Oh, like a good neighbor, State Farm is starting a Disney planning podcast. Yeah.
Make it make sense.
So the next piece of news is that State Farm and Disney this is from Disney Parks blog. State Farm and Disney team up to create good neighbor magic. And then they go on a bunch of bullshit about, I don't know, something about wanting to work with State Farm. And I don't fully understand how it works. Money is changing hands. But one of the things that State Farm is presenting or sponsoring is, and this is, I think, the better part because, I don't know if State Farm is going to show up when there's a coaster accident and be like, "What's up? We're the ones in the red jackets. You need insurance." But
they just deny the claim.
Yeah, we're just here to make
I work for a lead.
No, you don't get the money.
I see State Farm all the time.
The sass. Well, anyway, State Farm is doing they're presenting a podcast. So it says State Farm will be presenting. The presenting sponsor of the brand new Plan Disney podcast. In this podcast, expert Plan Disney panelists will offer insightful tips, helpful suggestions, and inside looks for guests preparing for an upcoming magical vacation to Disney parks and resorts. It's weird because I don't know. I mean, the first episode is going to be about 10 seconds. They're going to be like, well, you spend money. Thank you for joining us. We're sponsored by Casper. I don't know what they're going to say that's that insightful. I mean, there is a lot of these podcasts already.
It really does feel like they're just trying to catch up. They saw that there's been wild success with other people making planning podcasts, and they decided to not just get into it, but to like milk a corporate partnership out of it as well.
The reason there are planning podcasts, Disney, is because everything is insane and hard to do at your theme parks now. So if you fix that, you don't need to work with State Farm to have a podcast. That's how that works.
See, I'm confused as to why they even... I'm not confused, but I'm like, they have a history of doing sponsorship to fund rides. So I'm like...
Yeah, you don't need the funding to start a podcast, clearly.
Right, you don't need the funding to do a podcast. No one gives a fuck about that because you can listen to our podcast, but that's
exactly
true.
Like...
The way those sponsorships work nowadays, though, is often they're a corporate sponsorship in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they on the back end, they may provide insurance for production or discounts for employees or whatever, and that there's this laundry list of, all right, how do we exploit this relationship elsewhere for both of our benefits? And so it's like they cast a wide net and go, hey, parks, how do you want to do it?
Well, it's like Advent Health as well down here.
Yeah,
it's like
they
did all the COVID stuff, and they sponsor I think the first aid stations, but there's other stuff going on in the background that's more employee oriented, I'm sure. So
right, because the last thing you want is a thrill ride it's sponsored by an insurance company and it's something going wrong,
or meet and greet Jake from State Farm.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. And he's always in khakis and a red shirt.
Yeah.
Just the original Jake.
The original, I agree. The original Jake.
I don't know who this off-brand Jake is.
Poor Flo of Progressive is stuck at a Six Flags somewhere. She had her time.
She had her time.
They're still dragging her out, though.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know
I
what's
saw
great?
her recently.
She obviously was like,
Separate
I
life.
want to play more characters, because if you notice now, they have her as like her entire family.
Yeah.
So I bet you that was her going, you know what? I'm getting a little tired of this. Can we mix it up a little?
Has it ruined your ability to be a character actor? Yes. Are you a millionaire? Probably at this point on this.
She had better. Like, your entire identity is consumed by a brand. Yikes.
Yeah, wouldn't that suck if your entire identity was consumed by a brand? I mean, for real. The worst idea.
Like.
That would suck so bad. Anyway. So there you go. State Farm sponsoring stuff. We don't really know what it's all about, but let's you know what? Some people are going to need insurance because Dave is about to lay down the law.
Tell them, Dave. Spill the tea, Dave.
So there's no actual tea to spill here, other than newsflash, the fandom often jumps to conclusions before they actually see a completed project. Wow, that's never happened before.
No.
Y'all say.
And I got not in like every once in a while. I don't Twitter rant a lot, but when I do, I lay down like 8 or 9 in a row, and I write them very carefully. And it's never against what other people are saying. It's not saying you're wrong. I don't tell people their opinions are wrong. You're allowed to have your opinions. All I try to bring to the table is perspective, basically, from doing this for 30 plus years, and that the cause celeb of the moment, the thing that people are incensed about du jour is the spacecraft that is outside the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, which is one of those Nova Core star-shaped things, right? And it's got a very hefty, sizable support holding it up, when the concept art showed it as like hovering, basically. And so everybody's up in arms that, they instantly go to they're cheaping out. It's Chapek. Right. And it's like, oh, I just tried to lay out this long conversation about that's not how this works. And if you think that the Disney Imagineers that are behind this are not pouring their heart into it and trying to make a solution work, you're wrong. And that's what I'll defend. I won't defend your opinion of it, hate the look, but I will say, attacking the people that designed this stuff, you have no idea how it got here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave my prediction of why it got there, which is I've engineered stuff to be outdoors in Florida, and the engineering calcs, or what you call in the industry the GPS, general performance spec, which are these big documents. Jimmy's out of her head going, oh yeah, I got to read those. Like the GPS manuals for the parks lay out, and it's not just about code. Everybody goes, oh, it just has to be the Florida code. No, it doesn't. Not on Disney property. It is the Reedy Creek Improvement District code, which they've made up themselves. And the hurricane rules they're ridiculous. Let me paraphrase this by saying they sound silly, but they're there. And 50 years of risk assessment people are not going to argue back with you about this. This is the way it is. It's not going to change. Is that they take a Category 5 hurricane happening instantly, like literally turning on like a switch, and whatever is needed to engineer to that strength, it's like practically doubled, because I don't know if that's the number offhand, but it is more than it should be. It's way over engineered, and the reason for that is not because it's likely that a hurricane will instantly happen and knock that thing off and it'll roll over a 4-year-old. But if it ever did, that is all over the news. Whereas like if people were sending me pictures of those planes at airports that are like military planes on a little tiny little support. And it's like, well, first of all, those things are actual planes that have their own internal support that are already meant to go in 600 mile to 1,000 mile winds. So the only thing that mattered with those planes is the attachment point.
Yeah. It
doesn't have to self-support. It's not a dumb piece of scenery, which is what this thing is. But people were sending me that, and I was like, yes, but in the park, it has to be so much more than that. And if one of those planes fell at an airport and fell on somebody, it would be like a footnote in the news. This is all about optics and risk assessment. Now, does that lead to creative issues that have to be surmounted that maybe are compromised? Yes, because that's what this industry is about.
Yeah.
And what the people that were sort of coming for me, I said, show me in my thread of tweets where I told you whether or not I liked it. Please show me whether or not I was for it or against it or defending it as a design, because I didn't. Because you know why? I get paid for those opinions. I'm not going to give them out here. And so,
spicy.
So,
except for here, people. Except for here.
You got to come here.
Yeah, and people thought I was being cagey or like defending the Imagineering. I'm like, look, I've never worked there. I'm not worried whether or not I worked there. I'm more defending the principle of how this process works and the fact that you haven't seen the thing done yet. Like, you know what somebody brought up that I love? They're like, we've never seen those things land on Earth. What if this is the landing stick? Like if Guardians 3 comes out and there's a scene where there's a line of them and they're all landing, I'm going to laugh so hard. But of course, you know, that's going to create people going, oh, they just did that. They made that up in the movie to make up for what they did. You think that Marvel and the filmmakers are going to cover for WDI engineer? They don't give a crap about it. So anyway.
Yeah. And not to mention, from a narrative perspective, this is a pavilion about that planet's culture. This can literally just be a display, like spaceship. There's nothing
true.
that suggests
like it's never meant
this is
to
a real
be an
spaceship.
actual space. Oh, that's
no,
right.
This is Nova Corps. This is Nova Corps visiting Earth, setting up a pavilion at a World's Fair, and telling us all about, hey, this is what it's like out in outer space. And so it's on display.
Jamie and Dave, I have a question for you industry folk, which is, do you dislike that concept art is even shown? I wish they never showed a piece of concept art. I think it sets expectations far too high and it's unrealistic. And they should literally just go like, there's something behind this wall. And the next day they're like, there's a Tron coaster.
The idea of showing concept art before an attraction opens is a very recent thing.
Yeah,
it's only in it's only in the last like maybe 15, 20, about 20 years probably. Like when we were doing MIB at Universal in 98 and opened in 2000, we didn't release anything. We didn't release crap. They kept everything. They kept the cards very close until they had to. And that was like, yes, we've seen concept art for Disney attractions, but it's always after the fact, right? It's in the coffee table books. They didn't release a lot. I mean, yes, they did occasionally release pieces to show things, but they were always very loosey goosey, you know, Mark Davis style. Yeah. And now you've got this sort of photo bat. Yeah, the hench look. Now you have these things that we call photo bash, which is like the load station version for Guardians was a photo bash, which is part illustration, part photos of people that are usually Imagineers. They do little photo shoots, you know, but like that creates this expectation and we wrestle with this in the industry, like how real do we want to make this for the client? And in this case, the client's the public. And often it's like, no, the client doesn't care. Just make it look good, make it look cool, make the 6-ton spaceship hover. We don't care. We'll figure it out later. Other times it's like, no, this has to be exactly how it's built. They want to see exactly, you know, what's your experience been, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same boat as you, is that I have like a love-hate relationship with concept art, because I understand from like a marketing perspective is like that's a very easy eye-catching way to get the public excited about something that's coming. But I think we've gotten really, it also depends on, like you said, to the client, what kind of concept art that you're even generating and the purpose of it. But a lot of the super realistic concept art, I think, can bite you in the ass because if it doesn't look exactly like this, if the clouds and the sun aren't setting the same way in that magical picture, people are like, this doesn't look as pretty. Yeah. So, yeah.
My response to, I threw in a little hand grenade into the discussion. I posted a very famous piece of concept art for New Orleans Square. That's an old Mark Davis piece. And it shows 2 nuns walking through, which fans know about. Like it sticks in your head. Yeah. It's with blue with the little white habits. And I said, in all caps, I typed out, "Where are the nuns? I was promised nuns."
Well, and I think back to, you know, an already controversial like right decision, which was Splash Mountain, which is not actually controversial at all, but people have decided it's going to be. And I look at that concept art, and it kind of looks like a Thomas Kincaid painting, and I don't know what to do with it because it's like it doesn't tell me anything. It shows me something, but it's also showing the characters as like cartoons, and it's almost so wishy-washy. It gives people the opportunity to sort of put whatever they want in and be like, well, this is clearly, you can tell by this is, this isn't going to work. And and you're like, well, if they would have just closed it and said it's going away, here's the closing merch. Yeah. We're going to have something new. You don't have like 2-3 years of like literal racism to deal with. You just make a ride and then it's just there. I know that's bad marketing, but guess what, Disney? Your parks are full. You don't need to get people to come here. They're going to come no matter what right now. But anyway, we have more Cosmic Rewind news, right?
Yeah. The other thing about Cosmic Rewind is that there was a major PR and social media gaffe about the ride by the chief corporate affairs officer at Disney.
It's so
good.
Hilarious.
It's so good. Jeff Morrell, who is the new chief corporate affairs, he was formerly executive VP of communications for BP Oil, and before that, he was the
deputy. This guy?
Irony
it's
of
this
that.
guy? I didn't know it was the same guy. Of course, it's the BP Oil guy. Oh
yeah,
my God.
and, yes. And he was the deputy assistant secretary of defense for public affairs and the press secretary for the Department of Defense.
What?
From 2000? Yes. 2007 to 2011, during Bush, W. Bush and Obama. So, this is a guy who should know better.
How to shut his mouth.
But Jamie will know. When you are ever going to be in public for the Disney company, there is massive amounts of media training. Like, it is no joke, right? But this guy maybe was a high enough echelon employee, chief corporate affairs officer, a big deal. Maybe he didn't go through it. I think it was actually, he just got starry-eyed because here's a guy who came from, politics and oil drilling. And he's like, oh, roller coasters. I get to talk about roller coasters.
It's not a big boat. Thank God.
Thank goodness. And so he said, just another day at the office, which I love when people do that. They work in theme parks. Fuck you. That's not fair. To say, got to test ride the new Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster at, get this, he did at Epcot Center, spelled SCENTRE, which is a parody account.
Yeah.
It's not even the real, there is no Epcot Center. There's only the Walt Disney World Twitter.
Yeah. And also, there is no Epcot Center. That doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore.
You might know that if you were the communications officer.
This thing read like an Onion article. Basically, it was like weird upon weird upon weird. And then he said at the very end of it, it's like no other ride you've ever been on. Have to ride it to believe it. Check it out, starting Memorial Day weekend.
Which I immediately went and I booked the Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend when I could get in, like immediately.
Oh my God!
I didn't do that. I can't believe
I'm waiting for my annual pass holder preview.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's giving like Steve Harvey vibes with like the my bad.
How long was that live before it got deleted? That's what I want to know.
It was about an hour or so.
An hour?
It was. I think it was long enough for Blog Mickey and WDW News Today to basically say it's been confirmed. Here's the date, and then literally as soon as Blog Mickey got it, they deleted it.
And what's so funny to me about that is, coming from doing some journalism for WWNT, okay, are we going to confirm this? Is this confirmed? And usually you would get crap from people like, hey, you can't say this is confirmed. You don't really know. And this time around I went, it's the chief officer of it's at the Disney company. Like, this isn't some source we can't name because they'll lose their job. This guy put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, you can't deny that. And then he deleted it and then was just coming to. And I'm like, sir, it's too late. It's been up for 2 hours.
Everyone at Disney's gonna get social media training videos sent to their emails.
Everyone besides him.
Hey, everyone, just we need to get this up to date. Just make sure your compliance training, which happens to be on social media this week, and confidentiality.
Right.
Like,
just coincidentally,
Yeah.
the company-wide training for that. Oh, it's just happening now because it's time for it to
We've
happen
always
again.
scheduled it for March.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, I'm genuinely surprised he didn't show the actual loading area because you could tell he was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was close. I mean, that's probably one of our best views of that vehicle. It's our best view that's not a confirmed image from Disney.
Yeah.
I like his reporting. Could he do more of it, please?
I know, right? Like, tell us when Tron is going to open. When is Tron going to open, honey?
Speaking of openings, Nathan, we wanted to talk about the Star Cruiser and the complications with covering that. You had something for us.
So to give you guys a little background on the podcast, we record on Thursday evenings. So of course Friday is when the embargo comes out or is done for media when it comes to the Galactic Starcruiser, Star Wars Hotel. And of course, the podcast gets released on a Monday. And we were like, well, do we wait to record on Saturday when we have some more news? What do we do? And what it came down to basically is this. From all of our experiences, we recognize that media that are at these things for free, there is this idea that, well, of course they're going to have some sort of bias. They got to do it for free, so it's not going to be as accurate. The problem is it's not even just a bias. It's very clear if you know these media people that they are going to lie to you, some of them, about their reviews after Media Day. And that sounds really tinfoil hatty to some people, but I think Lynn Testa said it best. And I'm going to read his sort of Twitter rant. And it is a bit of a rant, but I think it's very important because it kind of lands on what we're actually going to talk about here, which is kind of media previews and what that means and what you should take from it. So Lynn Testa, if you don't know him, Lynn Testa is he is one of the founders, if not the only founder. I'm a little murky for Touring Plans, which is a large website that helps people with their Disney trips. And does algorithmic things on ride wait times and all sorts of different stuff. So he's been to these things. He knows these kind of people. And he says, with the Galactic Starcruiser media embargo ending tomorrow, because again, this is Thursday, here's a couple of consumer advice points. One, many riders are about to tell you how great this is. Don't believe and don't believe it themselves. Two, Disney pressures media outlets to say only positive things. And this is from people inside. And then he sends a screen grab of a tweet, and the tweet says, the talk among media is interesting. 6,000? No way. Problem is, I don't think anyone's going to print that. Okay, so he's getting that from the inside currently. And then there's another tweet that says, and it's more of a joke, we get to the event and are told that if we don't write positive stories, you're not going home while a guy stands menacingly behind you, behind the spokesperson with brass knuckles. So very clearly, of course, that's a joke. And he mentions that. But then, of course, that's sort of the nature of these events. Kind of like if you don't give us positive reviews, you're not going to come back to the next one. And then also the fact that, they will literally tell you the hashtags to write. They will literally tell you the words that they want to use for these things. So let's see here. He goes on and says, there will certainly be people who come out of Starcruiser and who genuinely think it's the best thing ever. And if that's your honest opinion, great. No beef there. I'm thrilled you got to do it. But if you work in an independent, in quotes, media outlet that has 100,000 or 1 million plus readers and you write something positive that you don't actually believe, the question is, who are you trying to help with this? Because it's not the consumers. Disney knows that exclusive access to these events brings millions of clicks. Most websites earn their money through ad revenue. So for the most part, these sites, their ad revenue is life itself. Disney exploits that with pressure campaigns. Say something bad and your website gets cut off. Now, I know this from personal experience because of my journalism time with WWNT. They are not on the media list. We got booted pretty early because we tried food and other things and went, it's fine. That's literally, it wasn't like hardcore hate. It was not towing the line. And so media was revoked. So let's see here. He goes on to say, not all media outlets bend to the pressure, but I think I know half the people at the Starcruiser media event, and at least half of them have said in private that they don't think it's worth the money. When I ask, is that what you're going to write? They say, I can't. Right. The choice for writers is 1, say nice things that I don't believe and I keep my job and my company makes money, or 2, write the truth, get dropped from media invites, company loses money. I might lose my job and Disney will just find another site to write whatever Disney wants. Okay. So that's just a portion of the rant, but I think it really kind of states it. So thoughts on that? Anybody? I mean, we're going to hear stuff coming out in the next couple weeks about Starcruiser. I really don't care about that information until the person who has paid their money will do it. Now, I know a lot of people have problems with WWNT, and I get it. I have no issue with you having problems with WWNT. What I can guarantee is they're not on the media list, and they'll tell you exactly what they think, because from what they said on their Twitter, they've booked 3 times now. For the experience. They're going to put their money in it, and I can guarantee you they'll tell you exactly what they think. So I'm waiting for those people who are, shilling actual dollars. And again, I should make a point too. I don't necessarily want Starcruiser to fail because the creative aspect is not wonderful. I hope it's beautiful. I hope they got the budget they wanted. I hope the Imagineers did some wonderful things. I have no issue with that. My issue, of course, and this is something we talked about a little bit, before we started recording, which is I consider this to be Disney Quest for the rich. I don't think it's going to last. I think it's going to close because when you literally only have first class Star Wars fans that can afford this, how long can that really, truly happen?
What's the repeat value?
The repeat value, yeah. And if the repeat value isn't, it's literally, the greatest thing I've ever experienced, I don't know how you get anyone to pay this kind of money and come back.
I can speak on it from a travel agent perspective and a content creator perspective. I've only booked 2 clients for it, and they're doing it next week. So I'm honestly waiting on their review just because I set them up. So, and I know they're going to be honest. So I'm like, okay, I'm waiting on the people who actually paid like you. As a content creator, I agree with Len, just because I mean, everyone fights to be essentially on Disney's PR list, so obviously you got to kiss ass and give them what they want, which is positive reviews, because they act like they're about to hit bankruptcy, and do a chapter 16 or whatever tomorrow. So it's going through a fine line of, what do you tell your audience? Like, are you honest and risk losing that PR, or do you stay honest and keep your audience? Like it's a lot. It's a lot. But
the only people that get away with actually saying their opinions, like the New York Times. Like there's very few outlets that can say exactly what they want to say, and they're too big for Disney to screw with.
And you know what industry used to be like this? The movies.
Yeah.
The actual criticism of films didn't become a thing really until the 70s or so. Before that, it was paid coverage and gossip columnists and
we still have that.
You still have it, right? It still happens. Sure, Golden Globes, right? Yeah. But
Academy, Academy. If you want to really go about it.
But I have a couple of friends who are movie critics. The Linoleum Knife podcast, if you're interested,
God bless.
Very good. They're great. They're great guys, and they're still invited to every screening. There's the studios know that all voices are better than just good ones, because you're going to have critics that kiss their ass anyway. So why self-select that? I think personally, I think is why what happened with the movies. I'm not in that industry to really know. My friends can speak to it better, but it's like, we do live in kind of a post-critical world in that everybody with a Twitter account is considered a critic, when in reality they're just another voice, and they're not one that anybody should take to heart, especially before opening. Like, what the best reviews I get for theme parks and themed experiences? TripAdvisor. Like, I don't listen to the influencers. I go read what Joe and Jane Sixpack have to write about something, because they spent their hard-earned cash. Now, often as a professional, I'm reading between the lines of okay, what did work, right? What were their takeaways? Were they takeaways that they hopefully were hoping for? But I'll take public opinion, and even there, we know Yelp has issues and it pays for good reviews often. But in general, these people that are invited to these events are not authoritative, critical voice. They can say they are, and they can have all the opinions in the world, but they're not actually there to help the consumer, like you said, like Len said. I agree with them 100%.
I like what you're saying about that, because I often think about that with a lot of influencers in the industry too, that they feel, and not to generalize, but like they feel like this was only made for them and their community, and that it's not for the Midwest family of 5 coming. And so, you know, I don't know, Victoria, like I'm curious what you think of, like, as a travel agent, of like whose opinion does matter, I guess, more on it. Is it someone who's at the park several times a week and feels like they are in the know of everything, or is it the family who only goes to Disney World once every 5 years and had to save up for it? Like, is their experience and they're more important?
I can already tell you it's the family, because the family that's saving up more is going to be willing to spend more to have the ultimate experience, because they're only going once. I can already tell you, Disney does not give a fuck about annual pass holders. I'm an annual pass holder, and I know that.
I get a magnet every 6 months. That's it.
Like, they're not even, and you wonder why they aren't selling new passes yet.
Why would they? They're filling up their hotels with people from out of town paying day tickets. When I pay $1,000 to go spend $20 on food while I'm there, like, it's just
right. Like, $1,000 is nothing to them. So to answer the question, they prefer to bring in new clients that are willing to spend more, which is why everything keeps raising in price, I feel, because they're trying to fix capacity and see what is the limit for people to start coming.
I mean, this is also, this isn't their first foray into this category, but it's probably the biggest splash, is that they want a certain percentage of their product to be a luxury item. And the amount of, and that's capitalism, folks. Luxury anything has a market, whether it's probably not you, it's probably not me. And you just gotta swallow that, right?
Man, I wish it was, though.
Yeah. See, I have a policy that when I see a plaid walking some people around, I yell at those people, "Eat the rich!" That's how I can be okay.
That's great. But like I, and again, this is me speaking not from a point of I agree with it or I don't, but the fact of the business matter of it is, this is them. They do not see this as a mass market product. If the last 2 years of them changing the season pass program and Lightning Lane and anything has told us is that, oh, right, they're capitalists. Like, we need that reminder every once in a while. And I mean, I hope people like it. I think I'm with you, Nathan. I think there will be a group of people who like it. I have a lot of friends who worked on it, so I can't wait to hear from my friends who go to it and spend their money, because I know a couple of very rich Star Wars fans who will go.
Yeah.
And then and being a glass half full guy, if I have any hope for it, it's that this is kind of a big deal for immersive theater in general. Like, this is the holy grail in a lot of ways. We've always talked about this level of immersion, this level of participation. And some people say, do we really? We just want to go to a theme park and ride rides. And my answer is yes, that audience is changing. We have 45, 50 years now of an audience who expects agency because of things like video games, mainly. And cosplay, right?
People didn't LARP in 1955, like
exactly, right. And if Disney Bounding and Dapper Days and Bats Day and Gay Days have told us anything, like, there are other people who enjoy this stuff, and now Disney's like, okay, I wonder if the super rich will come. So I don't think it'll close. I just think it's going to be not a huge splash. Maybe running at capacity for a while and then not. Maybe they start to lower prices or have deals. Who knows? But that's a long way off.
Yeah. I'll get to enjoy it when it's like half price, but you only see Chewbacca for an hour the whole time.
What was that line from the original Jurassic Park when he's like, maybe we can have a coupon.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a coupon day. Yeah.
Catch me on coupon day.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, it should be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Well, it's me now, right?
Yeah. We're moving on to film and TV. Yeah, you didn't love this, right, Nathan?
Okay, we're going to talk about the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers trailer.
But I loved it.
I'm going to try to be nice because JB has informed us that she's done some work on this film. And people must understand that I do not blame Jamie for my problems with this. So if you've seen it, let's explain what it is a little bit first. It is a Disney Plus film where John Mulaney and Andy Samberg voice Chip and Dale. And Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is the actual TV show. It's meta. So the TV show is the Rescue Rangers. And so the movie is about, it seems to be slightly Galaxy Quest-y in the sense that they were actors on a 90s show, and now they're sort of dealing with a reboot possible and changes in their own lives. I think, is it Dale or Chip who's in 3D now? I can't remember.
Dale.
Dale's in 3D. So he got a quote-unquote surgery to go in 3D. And here's what people keep, and I think that's really fun. I think that's quirky. My problem might not, okay. My first problem is I just want a goddamn Rescue Rangers movie.
Here's that thing that we were talking about earlier in the segment where people are conservative and they just want their nostalgia and they don't want anything to change and move on without them.
This is not a change thing. This is like, what if this is so postmodern, like, whoa, what if it's not actually like the thing, but it's a TV show it's a movie about the characters in the TV show. And it's like, I just liked the characters. Look, the thing about Rescue Rangers that people always seem to forget about is it is very much in the mold of the Rescuers and the Rescuers Down Under. That's its model. It's this idea that animals have come together to sort of help humans in issues, and sometimes they have other issues, right? This is not what that's about. So when you say, well, we have a Rescue Rangers movie, well, no, you don't. You have a movie about Chip and Dale, but it's not really a Rescue Rangers movie. Now, they're going to get funny and witty. I like how Jamie's sort of looking at me with like so much knowledge, and she's like, she's like, I know things you don't know, and you sound like an asshole right now. But I only have to go with what I got. So what you have here for me is sort of cynical. Like, I don't really need another movie about like actors going to a con and having fans of their old thing and then begrudgingly signing autographs. Like, I just don't need it. And there's a lot of meta jokes about, and my issue is people keep going, oh, look, because Roger Rabbit makes a cameo, it's in the Roger Rabbit universe, and like that's the whole thing, and you should like it because it's Roger Rabbit. And the thing is no, Roger Rabbit was a very dark noir with a body horror twist. Okay, that was that movie. The rest of it is the setting, right? But this is a comedy. This is a road trip, it seems. Maybe it's a thing. It's its own thing, but it's not Roger Rabbit. And when people keep treating it like it's the second coming of Roger Rabbit because he shows up, I'm guessing, for a second, and it has that same sort of cartoons or actors vibe, people are just getting confused. And I kind of have to go like, y'all, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the second highest grossing movie of its year. Like, it's its own thing. Like, it's not now I'm someone who believes there should be a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think you can do it. I think some of the elements that is showcased in Rescue Rangers, like, I love the idea of you get a plastic surgery that turns you into a 3D version. That's hilarious. And that's something that's it's a point about Hollywood, and it's interesting, and you could see it in a movie. I'm like, how do you get kids interested in these characters when they sound like John Mulaney? Like, who is this for? Because it could be for children who like want to buy the toys, but they made it for parents, and I don't get the point of doing
parents
that.
Who grew up. It's the millennial parents who grew up watching it, frankly.
Right, but the point, but how does that sell merch? Disney's all about merch.
To be fair, Shrek was the same way. Shrek had jokes for adults and for kids, and it is, I mean, R.I.P. Shrek 4D. I hated it, but like, it still sells.
Using Shrek as a comparison is not the compliment you think it is. I
But I think merch is still gonna sell because right now we're in the time of millennials and us looking back fondly on our childhood and wanting that merch. I went to Disneyland like 2 weeks ago and 100% threw down $30 for a Lizzie McGuire t-shirt because I thought it was funny. It said seriously cool on it, and it had like the cartoon Lizzie McGuire, and I immediately changed. And yeah, so if Rescue Rangers comes back, and I saw Hercules stuff, and I was like, yeah, forgot what a great merch option, and it's totally targeted towards me, and I'm okay with that. And I feel like Rescue Rangers is gonna be the same thing. Like it's a niche. I don't think my nephews are gonna be like riled up about it. Maybe they will be, but
that's my thing though. It's sort of weird. Like after you do something so wonderful as the reboot of DuckTales that finds this way of threading the needle, and going all the way back to the original, the original comic books, and using designs and elements and sort of saying like, yeah, the 90s thing's a part of it, but we're sort of weaving a new variation, and we're bringing it, we're sort of doing this Disney afternoon verse, and there's all these things connected. And I thought, oh, okay, like I get what they're going to do. It's going to be in 3D, and then this is just not at all what I thought it was going to be. So maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe I'm looking for a movie that's not there, and that's fine. I just thought, what an odd opportunity to waste an IP on a one-off film, opposed to making it the thing that you create a film and then you have a TV series and then you reboot and then you make a video game, and it just doesn't seem to lend itself to any of that. So I don't know.
But Doja Cat is the theme song.
Yeah.
Doja Cat?
The Saweetie and Doja Cat song. That's my best friend. That's why, again, I think it was just marketed towards me. Whole
and you got to work on it.
I was like, I'm in. I'm sold.
Now, Jamie, I'm going to have to hold you right there because we just had a large conversation about people needing to make money and being influenced by the need to have a paycheck. You might be biased here, just a hair, just maybe.
Okay.
Just a pinch. Just so our audience recognizes that.
Okay.
Well, believe me, I like it.
I think
I thought the trailer was light.
Working on this is a loose term. I filed some documents, all right? I was involved slightly in the reshoots. It was my first week at Disney.
Well, hypothetically.
Cut it out. I don't work for them.
Nathan, I think this proves that we should end every episode with a segment called Nathan Says, Get Off My Lawn.
Weirdly, I mean,
Angry man yells at sky.
Yeah, like God, I created this podcast so there wouldn't be a bunch of rants from an angry white cisgendered man. Look what I've done. But look, it sounds like I'm in the minority here. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to wait and see. Like, I am 50-50. Like, the trailer I thought was funny, and I love those guys. I thought that the gag of 3D was really funny, but part of me is like, is this going to feel at all like I didn't grow up with the original, so I don't have the emotional connection you did. But I'm like, we'll see. It's fodder for Disney Plus at this point. At this point, it's like it's just yet another thing on the Disney Plus pile that they're gonna keep doing.
Yeah,
honestly,
content.
Yeah. So, Victoria, what do you have for us,
girl?
You got some goods.
I'm sure Jamie is familiar with this. So last year during Halloween Horror Nights, what was it, the 30th anniversary, if I remember correctly, they had a scare zone where they collaborated with a horror YouTube channel called Crypt TV. This was my first time seeing them or hearing of it, and it was very creative stuff. Their fan base grew, I'm assuming, because they collaborated with Halloween Horror Nights. Well, they lost half of them because they announced ever so proudly that they were going to get into NFTs. And their social media person should be fired because anyone who basically hinted at a negative reaction was blocked.
No.
Oh,
just leave
it. I'm not joking. Literally, there was someone who asked why. Like, they were just genuinely confused about why got blocked.
Oh my God.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
So, yeah.
I was clicking on the link that you provided for our little, our little bones for our podcast, and it's dead. That whatever they posted, the tweet,
it's gone.
That was the announcement.
Yeah, so they've deleted the announcement.
Yeah, yeah, that was more of a like, hey, love or hate NFTs. I have strong opinions, but that's not what this is about. This is like, that was just a bad social media call, guys. That was the wrong way to do it. And because at this point, it's like everybody's going to do a freaking NFT. Disney's doing them, whatever. They're going to have.
Yeah, like I think Disney did it at one point.
They're doing it now. There's this digital collectibles. I have friends working in it, so good for them. Awesome. But it's like, those little pyramid schemes will have their own flame out in one way or another. Right. They're pyramid schemes.
It's very clear.
They're creating value.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen it. I think it was Theme Park Shark on Twitter, who's a kind of a smaller mid-tier theme park news website. They were like, look, we got a hexagon. We're doing NFTs, and we got our own Theme Park Shark NFT. And they got blasted because people were like, don't do this.
Nobody wants that unless they're already in it.
I mean, it's not far to think of Disney being like, we have new Animal Kingdom NFTs and the money for this will go to the Disney Conservation Fund. And you're like, yeah, to like fix the problem that you're creating with these NFTs.
Right.
So,
oh
my God.
Would you get a Jake from State Farm Disney NFT?
Like a good neighbor, here's my non-fungible token.
They put the fun in non-fungible.
Oh, that was bad.
There we go.
All right. So to close things out, we will be talking about what's going on in non-Disney theme park world. In our neighborhood, Nathan, particularly yours, Peppa Pig theme park has opened. It's pretty exciting, honestly. It's like a sort of a mini park attached to Legoland, and it just looks really neat. It's really accessibly designed. They have promised to train their staff for support for kids with autism and providing a good experience for families with all sorts of physical disabilities as well. It looks like a lot of fun. It's really cute. Peppa Pig is adorable. I think I'm gonna have to take my son there, I think is what's gonna end up happening. They've got a water play area, which is gonna be a huge hit. Like kids.
It's a cute little area.
Yeah, it's just
you can take me too. Take me with you.
Let's go. We're going to Peppa Pig Land, y'all.
Not every park is going to be a full day. Not every park is for all ages, right? Like
exactly.
if Legoland has taught us anything, or it is. I mean, it's a very specific kind of park experience that you can't comp onto a regional ride park or a destination park like Disney Universal. And I commend them for doing something. My biggest complaint about it professionally would be looking at the aerial view of it. I'm like, where is the shade? Where are the trees? Put some more in.
Yeah, I'm getting some Toy Story Land vibes.
Yeah.
But it's such a charming IP. Like I bet this is perfect for like 4 to 8 year olds, 4 to 6 year olds. It's probably going to be a nice couple of hours and then you go home,
Yeah. And I didn't know that, cause I have no connection with Peppa Pig really. But like, if you look at the data, this is 2019, so it's a little old, but still, the Peppa Pig brand generated over $1.35 billion that year worldwide. It's $1 billion IP. So like, I was like, okay, I don't know why this is very popular. I don't know, but clearly there's an audience for it. So
yeah.
During the quarantine, so many kids were watching. I remember there was news reports about how like American kids were developing British accents because of how obsessed they were with the show. So I believe it.
For the kids on Nanny, they love Peppa Pig.
Yeah.
It's Elmo, Peppa Pig, and Paw Patrol.
Any sort of British IP that they want to bring over to the States, I'll take some Paddington here.
Please.
Yes.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
I'll take some Wallace and Gromit here. There's one Wallace and Gromit ride at Alton Tower. No, I don't know exactly where it's at. No, it's Blackpool. Blackpool is where
Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
What is it?
Why have I never heard of this?
It's just a little.
Because it's not marketed to us. But, it's.
Who is it? If it's not to me, then who?
But bring me these things. Bring me all your British things, please.
Yes, please.
There's an audience for it here in Florida. I'll tell you that.
So, you only get Potter. You get Potter and Peppa Pig.
Yeah.
Only the IPs with P in them is the British ones that you get.
I'll take some Ponty Python, please.
Awesome. All right. Well, that about covers it. I'll be sure to drag my 9-year-old son over and let you guys know. Before we go today, Jamie, where can people find you online?
You can listen to all my rants on Twitter. Dear Jamie MR is my Twitter handle. And then also I'm going to selfishly plug my art direction platform, which is the Essential Art Department, which you can find us online as well.
Perfect. Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys all for being here today. This was a real treat. Really glad to have you guys. And thank you, Jamie, for taking your time out to talk with us about all this madness going on in the industries here for women. And with that, Rat Castle is produced by Nathan Hartman. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode, and tell all your friends, share on your socials. You can check out our website at ratcastlepodcast.podbean.com. And send us your questions. We'd love to get some outside input, ideas, things to talk about. Let's see how we rank things. Always really fun to hear about those sort of things. You can do that at bit.ly/ratcastle. And with that, please grab your belongings and exit to the left.
Will you stop this foolishness?
What foolishness would you like to see?
Will you get out of here?